executive session.
No, stop.
Stop, yeah, stop, stop. That's it.
That's true.
50 people, yeah.
We let everyone have 5
The
minutes.
budget hearing. Uh-huh,
Yeah.
that,
50 people really care.
uh-huh. In all of my years, I think I've had like 5 people all together.
That's what
Yeah.
John and I were talking about. The word just, yeah. At least twice, maybe people are telling.
And but it's the public's money when you think about it. It's
Absolutely.
one of the biggest decisions that is made. So if they do, that's all right.
I'll never forget one time when I was in Augusta, I presented before the Augusta finance department, and they were doing budgets. And I was the chairman for the BDA, and I came up with this incredible presentation of why we should have our fund increased. And I had worked so hard on this, and I went up there and they smiled and listened to me, and they gave me 0 increase. And I was so mad. Because I spent so much time and I was thinking, oh, I got this. This is good. Nothing.
Nothing.
Crickets.
Yes. We will not be swayed.
So I was like, nope, that would never happen.
Is Riley up here?
They're driving back.
Yeah.
They decided to conveniently stop at In-N-Out Burger.
So did she get in it too?
Yes, and they somehow
They went shopping.
They went shopping. Yeah, In-N-Out's like every time Cooper or Riley comes to Denver, they always stop at In-N-Out.
Wow, that's a short agenda.
Yes.
Look at this.
You're welcome. Well, we have done a pretty long one.
Yeah, it's a karma,
Yes, yes.
It's karma.
And we do have a bunch of ordinance changes coming, so just
Yeah.
wait.
Well, it's not going to stay light for long.
Oh, Mary's showing her face this time.
Hey guys,
Hi there.
I'm still wounded. I still have my bandage.
You can't see that.
I know, that's why I'm saying.
That's it is. Jerry, what are you doing for Thanksgiving?
I'm probably going to go to Tucson.
Tucson?
Yeah,
Are you drive or fly?
I fly. Linda lives down there, and so I'll probably do Thanksgiving with her and her sister, who also lives there.
Nice.
Yeah, you guys are in town?
Yeah.
In town? Okay.
I'm in town here in Christmas.
Okay.
So
Well, in town, I loosely, I go down to my one sister's in Lakewood, the other's in Woodbridge, so.
oh, that's good.
I'm in Phoenix. Wave as you fly over, Jerry.
You're in Phoenix, okay. Valley of the Sun.
That's it, except it's dark out now.
But this is the time of year when you want to be in Phoenix. Beautiful.
I'm not knocking it. We just got here, but I'm not knocking it.
Does anybody know what happened at the post office yesterday?
Something
I
spilled.
believe it was a leaking package that had to be checked out to make sure it wasn't hazardous.
I went to go in and then they said, no, you're not supposed to go away. So I did. And I wondered, I had been told something by somebody else about it. Someone had broken into some of the boxes.
I did not get that, but it could be.
Yeah, I heard some weird stuff too, but I couldn't confirm anything. I heard it was kids broken in and did things in there and they had to clean up, but I don't know.
Maybe that's when the package isn't here yet.
Yeah, it's perfect. Here. I have a package that was supposed to be delivered the 14th and it's still not here. So. I was like, is it coming from China?
That might be one.
Well, I left something in my car. So I'm gonna have to brave the elements and go
Okay,
see if I can get it.
you want my coat?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
I'll just go past.
Okay.
You always take out the secret bad entrance over here,
What?
the bad entrance.
Yeah, but then,
It's dark.
then it would let the cold air.
Yeah, please.
That's fine.
Well, have you been, Deanne?
I'm doing okay, I guess. There must have been a front go through on Monday because I didn't sleep for anything worth anything, but other than that, okay. How about you?
So far, so good. I kind of woke up last night, strange too, in the middle of the night, and I was wide awake.
Yeah. And no reason for it. There wasn't a noise. There wasn't, I couldn't figure out why. There wasn't wind hitting the side of the house but I just didn't sleep well.
Yeah.
Happens to all of us.
Mhm.
You did learn. Cold quickens our step.
Yes, it is. Can't think of any reason in particular we need to reconvene. After the regular session. Certainly not on pending litigation. Not we were also on that. Okay. I'll keep the motion sweet. Or sweet now.
Okay.
You mean you haven't memorized that, Jerry?
I have, it's just that I always get it.
The rest of us who have to actually do it.
Whoever sits to my right is my rule, no matter where I am, has to read the motion. That's my rule. It served me well. Years.
There was a HDPLC meeting last Wednesday, so I need to add that to the agenda when we get there.
Okay, thanks for the heads up.
So we got 1, 2 there. Well,
Or
there's another 5 minutes.
did anybody say they're not coming tonight? No.
Somebody in a car out there, so I didn't stay to chat because it was full. So there's at least one other person.
When you start seeing color or hearing colors. Yeah.
Making your coffee with Red Bull. Did I hear that when I was talking?
Yeah,
Upstairs.
that was a little Facebook meme that my cousin did.
I have never tried Red Bull because I've decided that, you know, I'm stimulated enough and just, you know, in normal life, watching the 10 p.m. news is scary enough. So I've never like done that.
Well, I tend to avoid that kind of stimulation this time of night anyway.
Yeah.
I need to cut off caffeine about 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
I mean, our board meetings don't do it for you guys?
What?
Our board meetings don't do it for you guys?
Go on any given night. Yeah.
We live for this.
On any given night. Sure.
Looking sketchy there, guys. I think Deanna and I should have twice the amount of votes.
Yeah. You're gonna have to, I think. Come on, guys.
Maybe we should text them.
Where are ya?
If we have a failure of a quorum, we'll have an even shorter meeting point.
Okay, I'll text John Jennings.
Maybe they left early for Thanksgiving and didn't tell us.
Yeah.
Try Rob.
There.
John's here.
Yes, John? Okay.
Hey, John.
Wow, you knew that? By the walk, the gate.
So, I mean, it's like.
Well, I'm deleting
Hi
the
there,
text.
John.
Hi, John.
Are you coming, John?
Okay, we just hit the quorum, so I'm not gonna worry about it. Thanks.
Aren't we one short? Wait,
Yeah.
what? Oh, okay. Paul's here.
You just can't see who's coming up the stairs.
Yeah.
We need another camera angle.
Afternoon, evening.
Hey there.
Hey, Paul. Paul.
Yes and no. I could not play it on my voice app. So I didn't get to the very end, but I could see what it's gonna be, something about capital prize and then it has.
Okay, lost that. There's quite time like these. And the net of my message was,
Making us nervous.
we're gonna have an executive session, talk about the strategy, respond to that. And I'm based upon your appointment.
It is.
Selecting that portion of the
Edmund
executive session.
shows up.
Okay,
So here in town, we're gonna talk about strategy.
I just talked to Ken last week before he had surgery.
Oops.
He wants me to tell you guys that he supports everything the town is doing regarding the dam.
Yeah, terrific. That's good.
This is something else.
Yeah, this is something else. This is the Biddle Street. The Biddle Street at 10. Oh, quiet title lawsuit got filed last week.
There's a roll call.
I just unaware of it.
We should make the record at least that you'll leave for that.
Okay.
We'll keep that to the second half of the exec session so that, yeah.
I'll call it a night right there.
Yeah, we'll make the record on the record.
Okay.
Thanks. I'm sorry the recording didn't So.
It's this goofy voicemail app that I have to use. PTO, pay accounts, but
I don't know how many emails,
okay, yeah,
phone calls.
Get it.
okay.
Didn't honor that.
Seat turns in,
But yeah, on,
is that, so someone else here get off,
so just
Hmm.
couple, they're the.
So-
There.
Mhm.
That's a,
You know, with, you helping out, but owning 5 feet worth of sediment. Whatever it is.
That's a weird deal. I never saw that.
It is a.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's, yeah, I'm with you.
I'm seeing 6 o'clock. So I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen for the town of Georgetown to order. It is Tuesday, November 22nd, 2022. It is 6 p.m. Let's go ahead and start with the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we'll do roll call. I am Lynette Kelsey, police judge. Rob Connell.
Here.
Deanne Powell.
Present.
John Jennings.
Here.
Paul Hinton.
here.
Mary Smith.
Here,
And Rich Barrows.
Here. Time to be.
Wonderful. Okay. Agenda approval. Deanne has told me that she would like to give the board an update on the HDPLC meeting that was held last week. Let's add that to agenda items. And I was going to give a brief update also under agenda items for the quarterly mayor's meeting that I attended by Zoom with Jonah Goose. So anything else to add to our agenda?
isn't our exec session covering 2 items?
It is.
Okay,
It's already on the agenda.
oh, must have the old one. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll make a
motion.
go ahead.
This has nothing to do with the agenda, but you said you were at the mayor's meeting with Joe Nagoose. And 2 meetings ago, there was something about he wanted to be put on our agenda. Did we
I
ever?
will update. It's okay. He's not coming tonight. I will give you an update. So go ahead, Rob.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the additions that have been made for November 22nd, 2022.
I'll second, John.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Wonderful. Audience business. Members of the audience have 5 minutes to present any matter of interest not already on the agenda. Are you here? Wonderful. So anybody here virtually? No. Okay. Moving on. Next, we have the payables from November 4th through November 17th, 2022. Yes, Dan?
I have a small question. Why are we getting creamer from Blackwell Oil Company? It's
That's
on the,
market.
what?
That is the market. Georgetown Market.
Ah, okay, because I think of Blackwell Oil as being our gas place, but creamer.
We sell gas too, but that's the market.
High octane.
Yes.
Anything else?
Why
I'll make a
over
motion.
on page 3, the Strauss Park stuff, well, no, maybe it isn't that, it's capital improvements, it's in the middle, like 4040 681. There are a whole bunch of Home Depot ones that appear to be like the same time. Why aren't they lumped together? Why are they lots of individual lines?
I'm not sure what you mean by lumped together.
Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 entries for Home Depot General Supplies. And it just seemed like, why aren't they just one entry of Home Depot General Supplies?
They were separate receipts that I received for Home Depot that pertain to Strauss Park. Redo, so they're just each individual purchase that they made pertaining to Strauss Park rather than lump them all together.
Why?
Because they're separate receipts. This doesn't mean that she's writing a separate check for each of these. They're
No, I
usually,
get that.
okay, they're just separate receipts.
They were separate visits to Home Depot. So one time they spent 1,030, another time they spent 312. They were separate receipts.
I'll make a motion to approve the payables dated November 4th, 2022 to November 17th.
I'll second that. Awesome.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the payables as presented. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, next we have the minutes from our last meeting, which was November 8th, 2022. It was a regular meeting. Any corrections or comments for the minutes? I already gave Jen one, and that was for the notes under audience business, rather than telling the Lindsay Hazen that we would get back to her on the request. I actually said something to the effect of we would add that request to the other suggestions that have been made when we take up the short-term rental discussion, talk about them all at once. And Jen checked the recording and that's what we said, so. Anything else?
I'd just
Yes.
like a change in phrasing on page 3, second paragraph. It says, the first is a deadline of August 1st to have backflows tested. I'd like to see the tested changed to testing completed. Because that was the intent of what we were talking about, to have that done by August 1, so that there was time to correct it so it doesn't count against the town. It's
Well,
just,
it doesn't, okay, I guess. I understand what you're getting at. However, the initial testing, if it comes up that it didn't pass, then they have tested in that amount of time, but then they also have time to fix it. And I guess I thought that was the purpose of the change to the code.
Are you, if a device fails, you have 60 days to replace it or repair it. Are you
And-
talking about having that 60 days end on August 1st?
That's not the
no,
way-
I'm talking about, instead of it saying deadline of August 1st to have all backflows tested, it says deadline of August 1st to have backflow testing completed.
Well,
I'll
that's,
check with Ryan on that.
what's the definition
Well-
of completed? What's your definition of completed?
Well,
That they
honestly,
have taken the test and we know whether it's going to need some correction done or not.
Well,
These
it would be to see if it needed something added to it.
it'd probably have to be retested,
Yeah.
and that's the whole point of the 60 days.
Yeah.
These
So
minutes
I
need
think-
to reflect what was discussed, though, not what the intention is after the fact. If it doesn't address it correctly, then we should go back to it. This is what was discussed last time.
My understanding was that it was to have them be done with the testing so that there was 60 days to be able to correct any problems.
Well,
Never mind. It can be stupid. It doesn't matter to me if it sounds ridiculous instead of precise.
any other comments on the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes, November 8th, 2022.
As,
Presented,
no.
or as amended.
Yeah.
As amended.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the November 8th, 2022 meeting as amended. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Opposed?
Okay. All right, first on our action items is resolution number 17, series 2022. A resolution of the Board of Selectmen for the town of Georgetown, Colorado, approving an intergovernmental agreement between the Colorado Department of Transportation and the town of Georgetown for grant funding for costs related to a construction project at Georgetown Gateway Argentine Street North.
Well, I gave you my reports, and because the illustrious Cindy Neely is here, I will let her give specific details. Thank you for coming.
Okay, this is the sort of long awaited, as most of you know, I think that it's a year and a half ago that we applied for this grant. And it's been even after we were told last March that we were a recipient, it has been an interesting journey to get the governments to actually write the contract. But this is the contract that matches the revitalized Main Street that we submitted in fall of 21 to do a sidewalk and a bike path and some lights, we hope, from 15th Street to 22nd Street along Argentine. We also will give some thought to how we try to slow down the speed along that road, because that's popular speeding. We were granted $842,153, I believe, and it required a 20% match. So the whole project is $1,053,000 something. I think the numbers are there. And I didn't bring my cheat sheet, so I closed. It's interesting to me because they told us that we're in the first batch of those grants to be processed. And I happen to know our neighbors up both the road, who also got one for a sidewalk. I've not heard one word yet, so maybe we should not complain. We were, however, chosen to receive federal money as opposed to state money. The funds for this, from CDOT's point of view, come from the Infrastructure Act, along with funds from the state of Colorado. From our point of view, it would have been nicer to stay with state funds, because federal funds come along with all kinds of other regulations that go along with it. Therefore, the contract in front of you has 108 pages. It has exhibits that run from A to S. And I'm sure everybody is welcome to read them. I assure you, I actually have read every page of them and sent back a whole list of questions, which were responded to immediately, which was nice. So I think it's pretty clear from our staff point of view what is required as far as the federal regulations. We will be requiring, in addition to our match, we will have certain other expenses. So I'm not saying that that's the total of expenses. The contract requires that we have an engineer, for example, when we get to construction, that we have an engineer who represents the town. And at this point, through design, Rick and I can do that. The funds, if you looked at Exhibit C, it has all kinds of zeros in the funding, which simply means they haven't encumbered it yet. And they will encumber it in 2 sections. They will encumber a certain amount for design. And if we go over that amount for design, then that's on us. Doesn't come out of the grant. But what I'm trying to do, we have met, we did the bid for the design. We have done interviews, we've done walkthrough interview. So we have a very good idea what the design is going to cost us. And we are requesting that be the number used. So the design will come in at $193,000. 80% of that will come from the grant and 20% of that will come from the town. I think Rick and I are hopeful that we will have that rapidly signed by the 1st of the year. The intent is that we get the design complete in order to be able to bid this in March, in order to be able to construct it in the next construction season. There are lots of details. If there's anything that anyone has a particular question about, have at it.
I mean, with your experience, I was trying to read this stuff and I was swimming in it.
Yeah.
But
I get that.
but the questions that you send in are answered, so you don't see any other real big snags with this?
No, I don't. I have a number of questions. For instance, for instance, in the exhibit that says DBE goals, it says 0. And I write back and say, I've never seen a contract like this that had 0 in a DBE goal. And is this really 0? A couple of the others, I had the question of who signs, whether the town, because the term contractor and subcontractor is extremely confusing in this document, because as far as CDOT's concerned, we are the contractor. As far as, and we are concerned, we're gonna hire contractors. So the terms contractor and subcontractor, they give you definition in the glossary and then they don't adhere to it, which is interesting to me, because at some point along the line, it says that the subcontractor signs the forms about the PPI, the Personal Information Act. And so I wrote to her and said, does that mean we're asking our subcontractors to sign that? And she wrote back and said, no, that is signed by the town of Georgetown as the subcontractor to CDOT. And I was about to pull out the little definition she would say, but as long as we stay clear on issues like that, this one is, I would say, a lot of work for Mary, because it's also a Davis-Bacon job. So we have to pull in everybody's payrolls.
Right.
And we have to maintain copies of those payrolls. The only advantage is that we've done it before.
And you end up paying those wages anyways up here because.
Yeah, you do anyway, yes, but we also have tracked federal projects before. Because one of the other parts, the first part from 11th to Loop Drive was a federal project, so.
Thanks, Mary.
Don't thank me yet, don't thank the dead relatives, so I encourage, I'm delighted that we're going to be able to do this project. I am very concerned that we wrote this grant when the price of concrete was one thing and the price of concrete is a whole different thing at this moment. So when we get to the level of bidding this out for construction, my guess is that we're going to have to do some work.
Yes, Dan?
On page 14 of the pages we got about the regs and stuff, it's under accounting and invoicing. It says we have to invoice them within 60 days of when the bill was incurred for them to pay the town back. I'm concerned about that.
Oh, that, no. And that's, we don't be, because, what we've worked with our contractors so that we know what their payment schedules are going to be. And so that we know what kind of time we can get 2 months of their payment schedules into every reimbursement. And that's what I said. The good part of this is that we have some practice at doing this. And so, yeah, we will have to set up a schedule and we will have to stick with that schedule, but that's all, yeah.
Nothing new.
It just is scary that it says that if we don't get it to them within 60 days of when we incurred it, that they don't have to pay it. And it's like, yikes, that could be scary if something weird comes up.
Yes, but nothing weird comes up and you can we can handle that one, seriously. That's not the hardest part of the economy.
Okay.
So I would encourage the board to authorize, this is gonna be DocuSign, to authorize in whatever way that Jerry has determined is appropriate. Lynette and Rick to sign this document.
Well, everyone knows this, but I can't tell you how grateful I am to work with Cindy. Cindy has been such a help. She understands everything. She takes time to explain it so that I can get it. And we've been working, faithfully the entire time.
Yeah.
And so thank you, Cindy, for what you've been doing.
And pay me.
Yeah, but we still are grateful.
I'm saying, we can pay others, but not others have experience like you.
And that stretch is gonna be a whole lot safer.
Yes, well,
Yeah.
that's the point. And,
Yeah.
that's,
I mean, we have residences down that neck of the woods, so
Yeah.
we should provide, access.
yeah, we should provide safety at these things.
The mechanism for approval, of course, is the resolutions in packet, and the resolution, to Cindy's point about authorizing the signatures. The resolution itself authorizes and directs the police judge and town clerk to execute the same, and that execution would be by DocuSign or hard copy, whatever is most efficient. But the resolution is sufficient, not only approving the IGA, but authorizing its signature.
I can do it if you'd like.
Please.
I move to approve resolution number 17, series 2022, a resolution of the Board of Selectmen for the town of Georgetown, Colorado, approving an intergovernmental agreement between the Colorado Department of Transportation and the town of Georgetown for grant funding for costs related to a construction project at Georgetown Gateway, Argentine Street North.
Second.
Multiple seconds.
Yes. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 17. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And thank you, Cindy.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Cindy.
Appreciate all your hard work.
You say that I found you signed the thing. And so do you do that tomorrow?
Will do.
Get it done.
Yes.
Thanks, Cindy.
Yeah.
Very
I
much.
hope you have fun with the back of the design.
Okay. All right, and the next item we have is a revised quote from ESI for 8th Street sidewalks and concrete pans. I'm gonna let you do this,
All
Rick.
right. So ESI, when they went out to do site work and preparation to kind of see the lay of the land and even though they've done estimates, but when they came back the last couple of weeks, they realized that this project needed to change. It was not going to be sufficient. they could do the pans, but the pans were gonna be higher than the sidewalks, which means the water would then flow into the sidewalks and then defeat the whole purpose of what we're trying to do. So we're trying to get the water to move, which is what's happening right now. Water's pulling up on both sides of the road. Dick Collins has already fallen and took a year of rehab to get over that, and we don't want to do that again. So they came back, we looked at estimates, and I asked them for revised quotes and begged them to be understanding of our situation. It's end of year, our budget is pretty much spent. Can you please help Georgetown out? And they responded and said, yes. We do have a contract to finish the other road improvements for the spring, but they updated this contract just for the 8th Street. So I gave you this to you, even though it says 64,000, that is including the 44,000 that they quoted earlier for these pans, the concrete pans, but we added the sidewalks and it came to an additional $19,865. So that also includes them making sure that the color of the concrete will match the specs that we have for the town for our historic area and so forth. So just to make sure you know that.
Any questions on that?
I have a question.
Yes, Mary?
I'm under the impression that typically residents are responsible for paying for the repair or replacement of their sidewalks. Is that true, or am I?
What I have gathered is, yes, that is true. The dilemma that I have in this situation is the entire sidewalk, where normally we would repair just in front of someone's house. And since we're taking the whole one out, I'm willing to go back and talk to the residents. And I have talked to Dick Collins, because at first it was just going to be in front of his, but now we're talking about the entire sidewalk on both sides.
And so if it wasn't the situation that's presenting itself on 8th Street, and I understand that, you know, this is the domino effect and it makes sense to move forward with the whole piece, but what would typically be our procedure if in a different situation, our, you know, a resident or several residents wanted to do that? Is that typically something that they contract on their own, or do they work with the town on that? Like what's been our past?
What I gathered, Mary, is normally if it's a situation where you're repairing, the town would do it with an agreement to the homeowner, and it's usually a 50% share. So they would come up with 50% and then the town would come up the remaining.
So are we still considering pursuing that 50%? And but because of the urgency, yes, we move forward and we're lenient in collecting that from our residents? Or are we starting to replace sidewalks for everybody?
Well, I can tell you that there's a code chapter on sidewalk construction. And it does say that the sidewalks are constructed, reconstructed, or repaired by the owners at their expense. And there's a process for that. And that's basically an assessment. You know, it's like a little special assessment district, you know, or local assessment district that's, and there's a notice that goes out to the owners, the town constructs, and then the owners pay the town, and if they don't, there's a lien. And so that's the code section. I'll also tell you though that the sidewalks are in fact on town property, and the town has the independent and separate right, if it wishes, to repair or replace sidewalks for its own purposes. And this is likely one of those. I mean, I understand the code says what it says, but that does not displace the town's authority and right to decide to do it on its own and pay for it on its own based upon considerations that are maybe different and unique and different than the usual sidewalks cracking, owners should fix it back pattern. So it's kind of the town's call. The board has the right to do it this way if it wishes.
And my fellow board members, everyone's fine with the town paying the $20,000 as opposed to assessing it to the residents that it affects had we gone the other way? That's my question.
Well, what do you guys think?
I think in this, the way this one's set up, I feel comfortable just taking this project on ourselves, getting it done.
Thoughts?
I don't know enough about the background of this
Well, it's.
I didn't know somebody got hurt.
Yes, someone did. Yeah. We've got a drainage problem in that stretch of street,
Gotcha.
and it won't be solved by just putting in drain pans, because the level of the street and the slope of the street have to be altered in order for the drainage in the drain pans to work, and that raises the drain pans to higher than the sidewalk level, which then means the sidewalks need to be raised. And it's kind of a, you know, that as Mary said, it's a domino effect.
Sure.
That is not of the residents making. It's, you know,
The circumstances of the
yeah,
of the geography or the elevation of the
Yeah.
street.
sure.
Well, geez, I think that, since somebody got hurt in this instance, would the town be liable in any way, shape, or form if, we tried to, share it with the residents? I mean, I wonder if that could come back to haunt us.
Well, I'll make a distinction between, requiring residents to pay for it or the town choosing to pay for it, and whether or not the sidewalk is dangerous. Whether the sidewalk is dangerous or not is a town responsibility only, because the town owns the sidewalks.
Right.
The sort of cost sharing in the code just has the residents paying for it, but that doesn't shift liability. And under the Governmental Immunity Act, that's one of the exceptions to immunity, is a dangerous condition in a public street or sidewalk.
That says it right there. In my mind, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, it's
Well, to your point, why are we opening ourselves up to liability? Let's get this thing done so that we're not hurting anybody else. In my opinion, I mean, it just seems like this is not the case where we should be sharing it with residents, just because we might all of a sudden find ourselves more liable than before.
Yeah, and I'll give you another, just a distinction too. From when I was in Brush to even here, typically when someone repairs a sidewalk, it's cosmetic, that they're wanting the cracks to be fixed, or they have to run a sewer line through it and they had to tear that out because they were fixing it.
Got it.
In that sense, it's not the town, it's the homeowner having to do this. And the town, sometimes if we have funds, we'd say, we're willing to help you with the cost. But in this situation, it's not a cosmetic, it's not someone's, sewer or water line being fixed. It's our issue, it's below the grade, like Lynette said, and that has to be fixed.
Yeah.
So, and it's not just one, it's the entire, both sides.
Yeah, our product is defective.
Yeah.
And we need to correct our product, have it be righted. And that means the sidewalks need to be changed, or the flooding and stuff will take them out in the future pretty shortly.
Jerry, you're always great on telling us that precedence is important or it's not important. And so where does this put us when the next person on Rose Street or Tao Street decides that their sidewalk is dangerous, and perhaps it is, and then are we setting ourselves up for the town paying for the replacement because we started it now?
in my opinion, no. And the reason is these sidewalk replacement repair cases are each pretty much their own case, and they are individual in and of to themselves. Honestly, this is a drainage project that the town is undertaking, and that drainage project necessarily includes raising the sidewalks to be able to have the drainage work. That's that distinguishes this project from the one a street over, where neighbors say, we don't like the appearance of the sidewalk, or it's cracked and broken and we want a better one. So I'm very comfortable in that case saying to the neighbors, no, there's no precedent that can be applied here that makes the town responsible for that.
Okay.
This one's pretty easy to distinguish.
Well, can I
Certainly.
have an observation? I walk my dogs all over this town. And particularly on Rose Street, we have those flagstone sidewalks. Which over time, the tree roots and stuff start pushing them, they're uneven. In my opinion, they're a huge tripping hazard. Are we liable for somebody getting hurt on those sidewalks because all the flagstone is misaligned?
It's a dangerous condition in a public sidewalk because we own the sidewalk. And every city has, I'll say, every city has, or tries to have, every city's got a whole mess of sidewalks, and on any given day, you just know that they're not all perfect. You know, in fact, you just know the reverse, that there's tripping hazards, you know, in every community, and every community in one way or another has a program for reviewing, repairing, and replacing sidewalks. And it's well for Georgetown to have such a program of one form or another. But I'm taking too long to say, yes, if there's an accident on a sidewalk that is clearly heaved up by tree roots, that's a dangerous condition, and that would get turned over to our insurance company, CIRSA, of course, to settle likely. And you try to keep those to a minimum. That's why other cities have kind of a program of regularly saying, okay, we're going to address 1.3 miles worth of sidewalks this year, and we're going to take the worst ones. And next year it's another 1.3. And, you know, that's how cities go about addressing that. You know, you'll never get perfection, but you strive as much as you can for reasonably safe sidewalks within the constraints of budget.
Because in front of a judge, you want to be able to say,
Yeah.
we've got a program in place
Yeah.
that improves those sidewalks.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily enough to avoid liability in a given case, because it isn't. But, you know, we live in the real world, which is, we know that you can't ever have all your sidewalks be nice and even. It just won't be that way over time. So you do your best, understanding that your best may reduce your risk, but not eliminate your risk from accidents. That's why you have insurance too. So it's a balance.
So do we have that program in place? Is this something that we budget for every year?
I don't know if we budget for it, but that's part of our roads and bridge crew. So as a citizen or anybody in the community lets us know of an issue, then we'll address it.
Okay.
So if you have specific ones in mind, let me know.
No, this is just I did not know about this, so it's interesting.
It seems like we could set up some sort of structure if that other cities are doing that. So that way, if we end up in front of a judge, we can say we've done the preventative piece of it, and we're not just waiting for someone on the board providing their knowledge.
Okay. All right.
Okay, any other comments or questions on this item?
I move to approve the ESI quote for the 8th Street road improvements for $64,000, which will include new concrete pans and new sidewalks.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the ESI quote for the 8th Street Road.
Excuse me, who seconded?
I did, Paul.
Thank you.
Road improvements for $64,000, which will include new concrete pans and new sidewalks. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I didn't hear Deanna vote.
I didn't either, but. Did you vote, Deanne?
I guess
Just tell us yes or no.
You just muted yourself.
That's one way to do it.
You're muted, we cannot hear you.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
That's weird. I had put it on mute because I was coughing, and when I hit the button, it said it was unmuted, but you guys were saying you couldn't hear me. Yikes.
And what was your vote after all that?
There's
You're muted.
two choices. Yeah.
Muted.
I'm not sure why that's happening. Sorry. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're like, one finger for yes and two for no. But maybe so.
Usually when you push the space bar, it makes it unmute, and it wasn't doing that either. So I got no idea what's happening.
What if I say, what if I?
On to agenda item number 3, which is the public hearing for the 2023 budget. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. It is 6:39 p.m. And Mary, do you want to intro anything?
Just, this is still draft number 3 with the few minor revisions that we talked about, last work session. Everything else is staying. We ended up, in general fund, going into the fund balance by, $650,000. And, everything's still in line and good, and this draft does include the revised promotions budget and the new fund that we created for workforce and tourism enhancement.
Right.
So
Okay. Any comments or questions on this? Do we have any members of the public joining us tonight? Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. It is 6:41 p.m. And I just want to say thank you, Mary, for all your hard work. Thank you. It's very awesome. Thanks, Rick, for your assistance, and
Could we use a different font next time? Thank you so much.
so. Did anybody on the board have any further comments on this budget?
Thank you.
Okay,
Looks good.
awesome. So our next meeting, the first meeting in December, we will go ahead, we'll be approving the budget, and so we're set to go on that.
and we should have a complete one with graphs and everything.
Okay,
What kind of pie?
yep, yep. Excellent. Okay, on to staff items. Town administrators report and task list.
First, does anyone have any questions?
Nope.
All right, well,
Actually, I did.
Okay.
Well, when first thing on your ordinance list is the change for length of stay for motels and hotels. And I was just wondering if we'd gotten any response from the motels and hotels. Okay,
no, I mean, I did speak to Brittany Patel personally about it,
okay,
and they have concerns. They feel like it's gonna be a, well, they have no plans to upgrade. So their concerns more of just the whole lodging tax and all this other kind of stuff. And so
no, this is the length of stay. Okay,
I'm just saying, she's fine with it because she's not gonna do it. She did have questions and concerns about the lodging tax, but that's it.
okay,
So the answer is no from the community.
okay,
No one else.
all right. Go ahead then.
Okay, on number 3 bullet point under ordinance changes, I guess I was thinking about this more, and in my discussions with the planning commission, and I had a conversation with Dwayne just recently, and he brought some other things up, and I thought, this is really good. So we're still discussing this. The context is requiring all multifamily developments to be deed restricted, and the deed restriction was going to be 20% as we're thinking through this. But the questions that arose was, what about developments in the pipeline? would that be part of this too? Even though the ordinance is saying future developments, but will we say, just like what we're looking at other ordinances, would that include those in the pipeline? And then the other question came up, what about all other apartment developments? Would we say we would put a requirement that they too would have to comply?
On existing?
Yes. So
I'm
I'm just saying, how far do we want to grandfather in, or do we want to say we want to move forward with, we need to make all developments? So these are questions I bring up just to let you know.
sure.
Well, if there's something under construction, they're not, grandfather. But I mean,
Correct.
something like that one on Griffith, right at the end of, was it Griffith and 12?
Yeah, or near there.
Well, the Steve Kinsella building, that one, is already built. You can't really levy against that.
Yeah.
It would be unfair, I would think. But then again, we could do anything we want.
And it,
Well, within reason though, yeah, limits. I mean, I had no vision of going back on any existing. That's
It just seems to me to be kind of unfair.
yeah, I mean, wouldn't it be nice, but it's not done. And there's good reasons not to do it. And yeah, I wish it had been in place when those were being proposed, but I'm not aware of, I haven't worked with any regulation that dips back in the past and says, okay, now we're rewriting the rules for you. It just doesn't.
Retroactive.
They don't do that.
No.
They don't.
It's really limited, for example, downcast lighting. You're not talking about fundamentally the project, but if there's downcast lighting or upcast lighting and you enact a regulation, no more upcast lighting, dark skies. Typically, towns are able to impose that on existing lighting, but they usually give them like 5 years to comply and bring it into compliance. But those are sort of minor construction aspects of a project, typically not unwinding sort of the base use that you can make of the building.
and that's great. I know that this is just being, letting you hear the discussion of questions that have come out that we will consider and look into. Let me say.
Deanne, yes?
The intent of this whole thing with the 20% and all of that is to solve a problem we have right now. Consequently, I really feel like if they haven't done significant already startness, meaning poured a foundation, maybe have sticks in the ground, whatever, that this should, it doesn't matter how long they've been saying they want to build. I would like to see this be not even retroactively, to be applied to Bighorn, because they have screwed around so long. And it just seems like it's important to get this dealt with now rather than putting it off. It's one thing to quote unquote grandfather something that's partially built already or seriously being built. But like, again, back with Bighorn as an example, they've just dandered around too long. And so they should be included in from this point forward kind of thing.
Would be.
Okay.
That would fall in that category.
They're actually going to submit a new, well, they will be submitting completely all new again. So,
Right.
yeah. Thanks, Deanne, for the comment. So, I mean, you've seen my report, so I'm not necessarily going to go and make, I guess I'll just talk about the last two where it says issues.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
I know you're working door to door to inspect for lead service lines. You know that the town of Empire applied for a grant to have all the lead service lines replaced. I didn't know if that was something you were aware of.
No, I wasn't, but I can talk to them about it.
Okay, and I wouldn't call the current mayor, but I know the mayor. I have the phone number of the mayor, previous mayor. I can call him and ask him, see if he has a recollection.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Under police, it says Timothy Collins will be in the weekly newsletter for the public to read about.
Mhm.
Do I have something?
It was already put in there, I think,
Oh,
Randy's memo was in there.
okay.
So the last two, I just kind of briefly update on that. Excel, where we are right now is we've had 3 meetings last week. The last two were probably the most eye-opening and productive. Ryan Zabel and I did meet with their team of engineers and attorneys and basically decided to not back down about what our major concerns are. And this meeting was not discussing hydrology. It was not discussing the future of the museum across the street. It was just our water quality and the concerns we have. And so we addressed, we want testing done. And we want to make sure we're agreeing on what is tested. Second is we want to make sure you submit a plan to contain the sediment. And then third is we want to make sure that you are going to be addressing our issues right now with our plants, such as the filter that is already shot, it's end of life, damaged. And that's the $12,000 one. So they met, they discussed it and decided, okay, we do have fault here and that we are willing to meet all of your demands, concerns. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. We've given them quotes for the filter, and Christine Johnson is going to be coming in December, and she's invited me and Ryan to go up there with her when she starts looking at the testing places and to do things. So I have already communicated and committed that I will go up there with her.
We have 2 skids, don't we? Membrane filtration systems. Don't we have 2 skids up there?
I don't know.
I think we have 2. Did only one of them get damaged?
I don't know.
Oh,
That would
okay.
be a Ryan question.
Yeah, no.
I took a picture of the big filter that was damaged. And the guts alone were 14,000.
Right.
And then I got another quote to replace the current thing, and that was 16,000.
From Memcor
No, it was
or
not.
US filter? Ooh,
US filter.
Was it
maybe?
US
I think
filter?
that was what it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
So
Got it.
those are the quotes that I received. Ryan said he could pursue other quotes, but the way that the filters are, it possibly, we'd have to do upgrades.
Redesign it.
Yeah, it's like a redesign. And so it was, let's go with the company that we're using. It's an easier plug and play kind of thing. So that's where we are with that. I feel like the conversation is moving in the right direction. So with Jerry's help, with Cynthia Covell's help, Ryan, Cindy Neely's been involved in it too. Lynette's been helpful in making sure we're thinking clear. So that's that. Bighorn Crossing. I did meet with Brittany Patel, like I said earlier. We discussed why we're in the situation that we're in. And the whole developmental agreement is, it's kind of a mess.
It's off track.
It's a complete off track. And so when one says, well, why are you making me do it? When the other guy's already not doing it. And so Jerry and Martin and I actually have a meeting tomorrow for us to go through and determine what our next steps, what are we going to say is required next. So we're still talking through it, but there's a commercial component to this development and a residential component. The commercial component could stand alone because our code allows it. It allows restaurants, breweries, and hotels. The residential part is the part that is contingent upon the commercial. And so you can't have more than 50% in your whole parcel.
Right.
And so the residential needs the commercial. And so when you cut out part of the agreement that said, in order to make this work, we need 22 additional townhomes to be hospitality units. That's all cut out now. And so it's like, it doesn't work the way it was designed and agreed upon. And so now we're kind of going back, okay, if you're going to do a standalone unit, parts of this still have to have the commercial component tied to this. So we're in discussions on how we're going to make that work. Also, I think the biggest question right now is, the hotel does not manage the 11 hospitality units. That was part of the agreement too. It's a third party, which our agreement was they were only allowed to do that for 6 months, and that was it. And that was like in 2018. So they're way over, and they never submitted a letter for them to come back and for us to agree to extend that. And they have no plan at this point to manage them, because the current flag is called Wyndham, and Wyndham has already came and rejected it. That doesn't meet their standards to be included in their rental program. And so it's a mess. So do we question, do we look at it and say, we're gonna remove the deed restrictions for them not to be short-term rentals / hospitality units and make them just regular, and then they have to conform to our current short-term rental code? That's a question, because that would be fair since they're not part of this agreement. They're acting alone anyways.
Sure.
So there's things that we're trying to wrap up, and then we'll look at his current concepts and then decide, the next step within DRC for them to go through the whole process again. So those are my, that's my update. And staff have been working really hard this week, Christmas and everything else. And so
It's looking beautiful.
please be kind to the staff when you see them. Let them know that it looks good. They have really been working hard, so real proud of them.
Oh, so
Can I jump
don't
back
throw a
into
tomato
Bighorn?
at Kevin in the roundabout now?
Yeah, please. Please.
What was that?
Can I jump back and make a comment about Bighorn?
I'm sorry. I can't hear if there's too many conversations. Go ahead, Mary.
So on Bighorn Crossing, when you're having all the conversations, the song that never ends, can you add to our concerns what their development progress is going to do as it impedes our Argentine North pedestrian walkway? Because if they don't move forward, or they're going to have to move that fencing come spring, it's the way that sidewalk is going to jog, it's going to be, the construction or the lack of construction is going to interfere with our Argentine North sidewalk.
Yeah, you're right, Mary. And as a segue of what you just said, this past week, I basically asked Kurt and his group to finally clean up the 5-acre site that was never done. Construction debris left there, mountain of dirt, and then all of the berms on Argentine has been removed. So they've all leveled it, and they just hydroseeded yesterday. And so that's done. And you're right, 5 feet or going 5 feet into that will impede where their current berm is. And I have already let them know that that's going to have to be resolved. And so they're aware of it. I think that they're going to have to submit a plan to DRC of how that's going to be remediated. So they are aware of it.
Thanks.
Okay.
And that 5 acres looks a whole lot better and it's much safer.
Okay.
And that rock monument that was there for so long was finally taken down.
It's now in Rich's side yard, he now has a little wall.
Yeah. Some to anchor the kayaks and paddle.
There you go, there you go.
Yeah. Okay. Any more on the report or the task list?
If I look at the next part after that, just updates, Clear Creek Fire, is that fine to go to?
Sure.
Okay. So I left this on here because we're still, where we are right now with the IGA is, we had a meeting, like I said last time, for us to kind of come to terms, all the municipalities or those in committee members. And we all came to an agreement, but each municipality now is tasked to review it internally and then submit an approval, like we're ready to move forward. And then we're supposed to submit signature blocks and things like that. So far, Georgetown's the only one that's done it. And so they have Peter, the town attorney, I can't remember his last name, Lichtman, has sent another email out today asking all municipalities to please have all these things done and reviewed and authorized, because they would like to have the final approved by December 20th. So they're asking our municipalities to be ready to have this approved before the 20th so that we can move forward with this. So that's kind of our goal.
Well, and that means we need to have it, the final copy to, what is it? It'll be like the what's our next?
Is it the 8th?
I don't think it's the 8th. I think it's later.
Yeah, like the. It doesn't have that.
Second.
It'll be the 13th. Will be our meeting in, our first meeting in December, so we'll need to have that.
Okay, December
then.
13th, got it.
Okay. Okay. Deanne, do you want to do your update about the HDPLC?
The HDPLC met last Wednesday on the 16th. Christine Johnson, that Rick was just referring to, is an Excel representative, and she was originally slated to give a presentation, go over what they had planned and the like, but she had a last minute emergency and couldn't be there. Gentleman named David Trujillo was, and he said they're not interested in keeping the Energy Museum. Frank Young said that it's a major factor in the development and history of Georgetown and that it's important they keep it intact. And essentially, there was a lot of discussion. And in my opinion, and this is not part of the meeting, but I think we need to insist that they put back a lot of the things that they're tearing out, because if they do it, we don't have to do, for example, environmental impact studies and things, because they already have the thing, as opposed to we would be starting new and wouldn't be under that umbrella. But anyway, they talked about the Christmas trees. I haven't talked with Jen Jordan since the weekend, so I'm not sure how it went. And let's see, Silver Plume's town board is working on a resolution to designate the new land acquisition and the things it's contingent to as Silver Plume Mountain Park. HDPLC donated $5,000 to them for, to help acquire the land. There was discussion about open space and the meeting that was that evening, but so it hadn't been done yet, between open space and Clear Creek County. The Forest Service will have signage up at the Santiago Mill by March. And I think that's most of the things of interest.
Okay, thank you very much.
Did anybody go take advantage and get their tree up in Silverdale?
I saw a couple of people who posted on Facebook that did it.
My daughter went up and got a gorgeous, about 8 or 9 foot tree and surprised my wife. With it. My wife almost ran into it. She put it up in the house. Beautiful, beautiful tree. What a
excellent,
nice gift that was.
Nice, yeah.
I believe the update from Jen Jordan was we sold 8 trees and there was about 30 something people that came and were part of that. So is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think she said 7 trees, and then Sunday was pretty much nothing.
But this weekend, go this weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, there's still
That tree was like,
Yeah.
like it was grown on a farm. It was nice.
Yeah.
Cause we usually go cut our own tree, and Charlie Brown usually uses that tree.
I don't think many people or enough people have heard about it. I keep talking with folks and they go, wow, we didn't know. So we need to do a better promotion next time.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty. I will do a very quick update. Joe Nagoose did a quarterly update with the mayors in his district, and that was yesterday via Zoom. His district is changing, so some folks were there for the last time, and then we had some new folks joining. He is planning to start his tour of the towns in his district and the counties starting in January. They've got a very busy legislative session to wrap up the The budget for next year, they are, they are pushing for and they should accomplish approval of the same-sex marriage protection bill that has gone through the House. It went to the Senate. Senate made some changes and then passed it with a filibuster-proof vote of 62 in favor. So now it goes back to the House for approval of those changes, but that should be all signed by President Biden by the end of December. There are a lot of other things that are in wrap-up mode for this legislative session before they recess in December. Yeah, those were the gist of things. As you know, the House percentages are changing, so it will be shifting to a Republican-controlled House, and there will be some changes to do with that. For instance, the climate committee that Joe Neguse has been serving on will not be going forward, but he said they've got a lot of work to do implementing things that they've already gotten approved. So they've got plenty of things to work on. There was so changes, just shifts in committee makeup and lots of change. So I think that's all that I had on that meeting. So we should be seeing him in January sometime, or perhaps in February if he's having trouble making the rounds. So, okay. All right, I think we're on. Does anybody have anything else before we move on to executive session? Okay.
I move to go into executive session. Executive session under CRS 24-6-402 (4) and (e) for a conference with the town attorney, town administrator, and appropriate staff to receive legal advice and instruct negotiators concerning pending litigation and approved lodging tax. I further move to adjourn the board meeting at the conclusion of the executive session.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to go into executive session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Okay, well, you guys got your links to the executive session, right? So we will see you there,
What?
correct? You got your links to the executive session, correct?
Yeah, one second, yes.
I don't think she
If
did.
you receive your link to the executive session. You got it. Okay.